Hello, everyone. Welcome to a very, very special episode of the Killer Author Club. Not only tonight do we have the brilliant Mary Kubica here with us to talk about her latest Thrill Fest. She's Not Sorry. So excited. This book was a jaw dropper. I could not put it down. But we also have a very, very special guest host tonight. We have Danielle Gerard joining us, and Danielle is well known in the thriller circles as both an author and also as a podcaster. And we'll talk more about Danielle's work in just a little bit. But we have tons to talk about. So grab your cocktail, your list of questions for Mary, and strap in, and we will see you on the flip side.
Thought you really loved me, guess I was wrong. Thought you'd never leave me, guess I was dumb. Waited like forever to be your plus one, but I guess you were done. Left me at the party, out of the blue.
Welcome, everyone. Hello to all our new members and to the original members who have joined us on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube. Wherever you're watching, we are so glad that you're here with us. I am Heather Goodenkoff, Killer Heather Goodenkoff, and I'm normally here with our founding members, Killer Kimberly and Killer Kara, but they're off on having some well-deserved adventures. So tonight we are so excited that we get to welcome Killer Danielle Gerard, and she is stopped by to be one of our killer hosts. So welcome both Danielle and Mary. And we are so excited to welcome Mary Kubica to talk about her latest novel, She's Not Sorry, and All Things Killing, the fictional kind, of course. So make sure you drop your questions for Mary in the comments, and Danielle and I will be scouring them and make sure we get as many of them shared as possible. So Danielle, would you please do the honors and introduce our killer guest?
I would love to. Thank you so much for having me. This is so fun. And Mary, it's so wonderful to see you. Mary Kubica is a New York Times bestselling author of thrillers including The Good Girl, The Other Misses, Local Women Missing, and Just the Nicest Couple. Her books have been translated into over 30 languages and have sold over 2 million copies worldwide. She's been described as a hell of a storyteller from Kirkus and a writer of Vice-like Control from the Chicago Tribune, and her novels have been praised as hypnotic by People and thrilling and illuminating by the LA Times. A former high school history teacher, she lives outside of Chicago with her husband and children. Hello, Mary.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
We are so excited that you were able to take some time and join us in the Killer Author Club. I know Danielle did too, and it was amazing. I mean, you never fail.
This book. So fabulous.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, you never fail to continue to amaze us, and we're going to talk all about it.
Yes, drop us some questions over there in the over in the comments, and we will chat about it. But first, Heather, do you want to tell us about cocktails and mocktails?
Oh, sure. Yes, I can do that. So we love our cocktails and our mocktails and tasty drinks. So every episode, we ask our killer guests to come equipped with their favorite and bring the recipe. So Mary has chosen her cocktail, excuse me, and it is a white wine sangria. So Mary, can you tell us why you chose this drink?
Yeah, well, it's just one of my favorites. You know, it reminds me of summer too. It's so fresh and fruity, and I'll be totally honest that I ran out of time today. So today I'm just drinking a straight prosecco, but but I love that recipe. Every time I go out to eat, I'm always ordering sangria. So highly recommend it.
Okay, I clearly got so excited by the word cocktail that I forgot all about the book, because I was like, oh my God, there's a drink. You know, I also have my cocktail. It's in a big glass because it's been a long day. So let's back up just 1 second. And maybe, Mary, before we get too excited about the drinks, can you give us a little bit of background about She's Not Sorry?
Yeah, absolutely. So She's Not Sorry will be out officially on April 2nd. So about a month from now. And it's the story of an ICU nurse, Megan Michaels, who ends up taking care of a patient that comes to her ICU who is believed to have jumped from a bridge in a suicide attempt. And Megan is one of those people, one of those nurses that she's kind of always like kept her distance emotionally from patients and their families. But with this one, she ends up getting a little close to the family that comes to visit this patient, Caitlin. And Caitlin's in a coma, but she kind of gets close to her mother and father, especially, that come to visit. And in time, though, it becomes more and more apparent that the patient may not have jumped from the bridge, but that she might have been pushed. And so now this nurse, Megan, doesn't know if she's let herself get too close to the wrong people and put herself and her daughter in danger.
Ooh, it's so good.
I have so many thoughts about the way the story goes, but I am not going to share a single one because you have to read it for yourself.
We'll do that afterwards for sure.
Exactly.
We have a lot of questions.
So much people love your books. Thanks, Cindy and Shannon and Renee. I mean, everyone is clearly lots of good Mary Kubica fans in here.
Yeah. Oh, Dana's having a
Tea.
hot tea.
That sounds good.
Oh, yes. Lots of love here.
Oh, thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Ooh, yes. We all are still picking our jaws up.
That's so awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Yes, yes. So obviously we have a lot of excited viewers here tonight, and we have so many questions. So a little background for those of you who are new here. The Killers and I started the Killer Author Club about 2 years ago. So readers like you can interact with some of the best suspense and thriller writers in the world. And our winter and spring lineup is still, really turning out wonderfully. We've got the Lisas, Lisa Gardner and Lisa Scottolini coming, Chris Bojalian, CJ Box coming this summer, and so many more. So make sure, if you're interested, check out dates, times, past episodes, and so much more at killerauthorclub.com. But tonight we're here to talk about all things Mary and all things She's Not Sorry. So Danielle, can you do the honors and introduce the book a little bit more for us?
Absolutely. I would be so happy to do that. So there's some really fun quotes about She's Not Sorry. The best-selling Kubica's latest thriller is her best one yet, with multiple twists and unreliable characters that will hold readers until the nail-biting end, which is so true. Kubica is a mastermind of fast-paced stories and complex characters that readers can immediately invest in and relate to. And Kirkus says, a twist is expected in any Kubica novel, and this one is pretty successful. Interrogates and exposes the everyday fears that women face while still checking all the thriller boxes.
Check.
Yes, so many fun. And people are just, there is so much love here, girl, for this book.
Awesome.
Absolutely. So now we're putting you in the hot seat, Mary. Get ready, because we're getting ready to ask you the killer question. Who do you kill?
Who do I kill? Well, okay, I'm definitely not going to tell you who I kill and She's Not Sorry. You're going to have to read the book to find that out. But I think truthfully, I kill anybody, to be totally honest. Like, you never know when you read my books who is going to wind up dead. And, it could just be anybody. So it's a vague answer, but I think that everybody is a potential victim.
That's good. That keeps everybody guessing, because we
That
don't want
totally
the obvious answers there, right? The obvious ones. And it's such a twisty, edge of your seat thriller. In the prologue, absolutely starts with a bang. And not giving away too much but your main character, Megan, gets the most terrifying phone call of her life. I think every mom's heart is going to just start thrumming when they read your prologue. How do you choose which scene to begin with in a novel? Did you have that one in mind immediately, or did you kind of build up to that and then come back to it?
So that was not the first scene that I wrote for this book. And I started with the next chapter. That was kind of the story that the scene that I should say that I kind of sort of saw first in my mind. And I went with that and started writing. But the next chapter, it's a little slower. There's more like a build up to it. And so I knew that was not the tone that I wanted to start the book on. I wanted to find something that was going to grab the reader right away and pull them into the story. So I was a little bit into the book before I came up with that prologue. And I know we've talked about this before, but I'm not a plotter at all. So, I didn't know exactly what was going to happen with Megan's daughter. I didn't know that was going to happen when I started writing the book. So it took a little while to get into it. And then, I started to figure those things out and was able to foreshadow that in the prologue. So, Megan in the opening scenes, she gets this call that someone has her daughter. And, so right away, I think that it pulls the reader in, and you're absolutely right. It's every mother, every parent's worst fear that something has happened to their child. And I love Megan as a character. And I feel like from that opening scene, you can just see that like her daughter is her world and there's nothing she won't do for her.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love this. Somebody else mentioned here that they have been mispronouncing your last name forever. And I want you to know, Lisa Ann, you are in really good company, because we had this conversation ahead of time because everybody's been doing it, right? Kubica or something else, but we have it nailed down too. Now, somebody asked us if your entire bookshelf is organized by color. Here we go. It's a Facebook user who wants to know, because behind you, it's so gorgeous.
Thank you. Thank you. So this was like a total procrastination tactic. This was like a couple of years ago. I was under deadline. I was supposed to be writing, and it just felt like a really good time to organize my bookshelf. So,
I've cleaned my kitchen this week. So I totally hear, I absolutely hear that.
So these over here on this side they're actually all my foreign copies. So those aren't necessarily color coordinated because they're just by book. But then these are. And I mean, it really makes it easy when you get a new book, like, where it belongs.
That's how I organize myself too. Yeah.
Yeah. If I'm looking for a book, of course, I'm like, now what color was that?
Exactly. Exactly. That's totally me too. Well, so I have a question for you, Mary, because we were talking about this a tiny bit beforehand too, which is, so, clearly we are women who write thrillers, who read thrillers. What is it about thrillers? Like, why is it so satisfying to read them and write them? What do you think propels us to do that? Especially as women, I think, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like this genre is so hugely popular. And I mean, for me, I feel like as a writer, it's a release. This what my characters are going through, like these awful things I put my characters through, are so, thank goodness, outside of my norm. That it's fun, I think, to sort of step outside of that. And it's eye-opening too, because these feel like very real people. They're not that different than any of us. So, it makes you realize, something could happen. Someone could take my child, that these are all genuine possibilities. But I think when you're looking at it in that fictional sense, there's safety in it. And it's sort of fun. It sounds like the worst word in the world, but it's fun. It's interesting to explore that and sort of see what could go wrong from, like the safe place behind my computer. So I think that's why I love writing in the genre. As for reading it, I mean, true crime has just taken off in these last couple decade, too, at the same time. And I think that as viewers, readers, whatever, we're so captivated by these mysteries. And I know that I love to try and solve them, whether it's like a podcast or an incredible book that I'm reading, I want to solve it right along with those characters. So I think that is something that draws people into. And again, this suspense genre, it's like, it could happen. It's so relatable that I think that it keeps us all on our toes.
Yeah, I agree. And empowering, right? I feel like it's empowering. There's something, even reading, right? There's something empowering about thinking, okay, I can figure this out. Like it somehow feels like maybe that I'm keeping myself safe.
Right. Well, and I feel like, you do become more aware. Like, I don't know about you, but as I'm researching these books and I'm thinking of, okay, yeah, women, they do get attacked on the streets of Chicago, and, a teenage daughter can get taken, and, these things can happen. And it's very, you feel informed, and I think that there are also things that, like, I learn in my research, ways to protect myself, and just, I think it is very helpful in that sense too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And speaking of Chicago, you've set, several of your books in Chicago. And I feel like as I was reading She's Not Sorry, I really was getting a personal tour of many spots in Chicago. And why is it the perfect setting for this book and for so many books? Why do you think
I write about Chicago because Chicago's home for me and I just love it. Of course, I feel like this book in particular paints it as a very dangerous place where there's this, man lurking in the area attacking women. And so, there's this constant fear. But, I personally don't, I feel very safe in Chicago. But I just think, it's such just such a diverse area. The culture is just incredible. I feel like there's so many different parts to the city. Like I've written many books in Chicago, but I never feel like they're redundant. Like I'm not in the same neighborhoods or I'm not, calling out the same things and sort of, just painting a different picture of it. It's also so diverse in like the weather. We have these really hot, muggy summers and these incredibly cold winters and wet, rainy springs, so I feel like there are just so many different elements that I love to pull into my books and just show different parts of Chicago at different times.
And I know, you did a one, of course, it's your home. You want to describe, it was described perfectly, but also the bridge. Is that a real spot that you were talking about? The bridge comes into play.
Yeah.
The story. So tell us more about that.
It is a real place, and I think that I had settled on the idea for this book. It's hard to remember, of course, because when I started the book was probably like 2+ years ago. So thinking back to like all the specifics of how it happened, but I settled on the idea and I knew that I wanted, a bridge where a person could jump or be pushed off of and survive. So I, tried to do some research, how high would the bridge need to be for this to be possible for someone to survive, but be in real bad shape and things like that. And then once I kind of had, figured out what I wanted, then I started to look into bridges in Chicago. Specifically, I was thinking like a pedestrian bridge where it's not necessarily, right over a road. You're not going to necessarily get the witnesses that you would get elsewhere. And so this is actually a pedestrian bridge that goes over a rail yard. So it's a little bit tucked away. And there is, such a thing. And I found the exact bridge that I wanted on my Instagram. If you scroll back a few months, you can see, I should reshare it. But there are pictures. I live in the suburbs now, but, I went and I drove into the city. And I, walked on the bridge in the area, all around it, took lots of pictures, just really tried to put myself there. And there's nothing like actually visiting a setting that you want to include in your book just to get like the sounds and the feel and, all of it is, I think it just helps bring it to life. But so yes, to answer your question, that is a real bridge.
Oh, very cool. I can't wait to see the picture. I'll have to go back and find it.
Here's a question from a Facebook user. When you're in the midst of writing a book, do you feel like you always have part of your mind on or in the story, even while you're doing other things like chores?
I do. It's so hard to escape it. Even if you're not actually at the computer writing, I feel like it's always on my mind. And sometimes I work out like the biggest problems or, try and like figure out plot issues when I'm like cleaning the bathroom or whatever, because I think when you're just staring at that blank computer, like willing ideas to come, they don't come. But when you're doing something totally different, then it happens. But yeah, there are so many times, or I don't know, at my house, it's, what should my twist be is like the dinner topic conversation so often. So I feel like it's talked about quite a bit in the family, and my kids are great brainstormers. But yes, it's hard to just like turn that side of me off and move on sometimes.
I can imagine. Well, you've got a lot of people wanting to know if it's the Cubs or the White Sox. I'm not. And they're voting on the side, just so you know.
Is there even a second baseball team? It's all the Cubs. No Cubs.
Okay. Yeah, somebody did say that was definitely the right answer. Good. Okay. And then, oops, sorry. Here's another one that's kind of interesting. Do your characters give you a hard time when you're writing them?
Some of them do. I in this book, I have to say, everybody was pretty cooperative. But I feel like writing any of my books becomes easier once I start to really like get the character. Once he or she and I are on like the same wavelength, then it just flows. But there's always a getting to know you point at the beginning, and it just takes time, to get their voice and to figure out what exactly their backstory is and all of that. So whenever I start a new book, that's sort of like that awkward, I just met somebody, we don't know what to talk about type thing. And, it takes time to build up that relationship with my characters. And then it flows once that happens. So there are definitely some that have taken a lot longer to get to know. And then there are some that I feel like I know from the beginning. And then She's Not Sorry. Megan was somebody that really, I felt like within, she's a mother. I feel like she's a very nurturing person. I feel like, I could just really, really relate to her from the get-go, but she's very honest and she's flawed. And I liked that about her.
Yeah, I feel that. I think you can really feel when a character resonates with the author. You get sucked in really quickly because you get sort of so many dimensions of her. And I thought that was really beautifully done.
Thank you.
Yes. And I know that, so one of the key points of the story, and this was mentioned a little bit earlier, but you had mentioned about Megan typically did a good job of being detached as a nurse, because in that kind of work, you have to be able to kind of put up a barrier. And she says, as nurses, we're supposed to compartmentalize, to be detached, to mentally separate our professional lives from our personal lives. It's hard because as nurses, it's our nature to be compassionate. And these two things, detachment and compassion, are at odds with each other. Tell us more about that. And as a writer, does that dichotomy, compassion, detachment, ever apply to our profession as writers?
Yeah, so I mean, we all know nurses, or, you see them at the doctor's office, and they're wonderful, compassionate, nurturing people. And my mom's a nurse. I have a number of other nurses in my life, and, you just see they want to take care of people. So then, to be put in this position of caring for somebody, but also having to have your walls up is so incredibly hard. But without that, I mean, burnout is really, really high in the profession, especially, since the pandemic. It's been so many people have left, and it just, it's definitely at odds with one another. Those two things don't go together. So, and that's Megan, and she struggles with that because, she wants to give her patients everything, but then in doing so, it's going to be, it's going to hurt her. So that's definitely hard. And I think that for us as writers, it absolutely is, because we have to kill characters that we love, characters that we spent like 300 pages getting to know. And it has to happen like for the book. And that's hard. I know that there have been some characters in books of mine that I have killed off that it was hard. You just really feel kind of torn up about it, but it's, that it's what's best for your book. And I know that, as nurses in the real world versus our fictional books are very different, but it is still hard because you have that relationship that you formed with them, and they've got to go.
Right. And, as writers too, in this book too, dealing with some tough subject matter, and, writing dark can be taxing, I think, on us as writers as well. What do you do to let it all go?
So I run. That's usually, I feel like, one of my stress relievers is just to run. I like to do yoga. So those are some of the ways, I think too, I know a lot of people will ask, is it really hard when you're writing these incredibly dark scenes, because obviously we have to fully immerse ourselves in them to be able to get them across and make them so powerful to the reader. I think too, it's just like doing it in chunks, like a chapter that a reader might, get through in 10 minutes might take me 10 days or whatever, it takes me a lot longer to write it. And I feel like it's a layering process. I'll write the bare bones and then add to it. So I think that adds a little detachment too, that you're able to get those breaks from it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's very healthy. I like this person who says, I eat chocolate, because that's really
I eat chocolate too.
Same. Oh my goodness. Well, we could talk for hours about this book and how amazing it is. And I mean, I caught myself gasping, and, I pride myself on being able to figure things out. And there was few twists in here that Mary, you really got me. So
I know.
congratulations on that. So,
Thank you.
um, so Mary is giving away 3 copies of She's Not Sorry Tonight to 3 US winners. So, doesn't matter if you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram. Just make sure you drop a comment. Let us know where you're from, but please make sure you shout out where you're from, but you have to answer this question. What was Mary's job before writing full time? What was Mary's job before writing full time? And I have to get our giveaway picture up here. So 3 copies. Drop in the comments what Mary's previous profession was before becoming a full-time writer. And then Danielle is going to take us to one of our favorite parts.
Here I go.
About
I can't remember my favorite part. Do I get to choose the winners?
Wouldn't that be fun? We do get to do that, but we're going to give it 24 hours. But
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm here. Boy, this is a much harder job. Let me just tell you, Killer Women is much low tech and we don't work nearly as quickly. So I'm trying to keep up. Okay, here we go. The Killers love indies and want to support them in any way they can. That's independent booksellers, which we need so much, and we're so grateful for. So that's why we've partnered with bookshop.org and have their very own KAC, that's Killer Author Club, store on their website, where you can find all the Killers books, as well as those of the guests past, present, and future, and also some fun lists the 3 of us have put together. We'll be dropping that link in the comments. But in the meantime, and speaking of indies, yay, Mary has selected Anderson's Bookshop in Naperville, Illinois as her favorite indie. Mary, can you tell us why this store is so special for you?
Yeah. So Anderson's is my own local indie, and I mean, they're just amazing. They've been incredibly supportive of my career from the beginning, and I can't thank them enough for all that they do. They have wonderful authors come into the store all the time, and so I'm always like stalking their events calendar to see exactly who's coming in that I can go see. And they're just amazing people. And you can order through Bookshop, like you said, bookshop.org, and you can order through Anderson's, and they ship books out too. They have a huge selection of signed books. If you go on their website, they put them on there. So if there's any particular signed books you're looking for, take a look and see if they have it, and support your indies. They're amazing.
They really are. And we did put that in the comments like 4 times, like everybody put in the comments. I love that. So it's there. You can find it.
Wonderful. And as much as we'd love to invite every amazing killer author onto the show, there's only 3 of us and, only so much time in the day, but we do like to give a shout out to as many authors that we possibly can. So we can't let tonight go by without celebrating 2 very special authors, both of whom are offering up a giveaway of their brand new release. So first of all, we have Bye Baby by Carola Loverling.
It's so good.
Yeah. So isn't it fitting that Killer Mary blurbed this book? Toxic. Tell us.
Oh, I just it's so good. It's so good. I mean, it's one of those books that I just got sucked in from the beginning. I fell in love, or just with the characters, and you give the info, because you're going to get it better than I can. But it's just one of those books I was totally immersed in from the beginning. I was like jaw dropped, like couldn't believe that a certain character was doing things that she was doing. But it's like you just can't tear your eyes away. So it's so good.
Oh, I'm sold. So toxic female friendships, motherhood, social climbers, influencer culture, and more. The result is an immersive, propulsive, all-consuming read that opens with a stolen baby, and from there delves into the toxic secret history and evolving friendships between 2 women, a new mom, and a New York City-based influencer and her independent loner on-again, off-again BFF. So that is Bye Baby by Carola Loverling. And next we have Like It Never Happened by Jeffrey Hoffman. And that one is out today. And he's also giving away one signed copy to a U.S. reader. And when three men find themselves together for the first time in decades at a funeral of their best high school friend, the widow, a newspaper reporter, threatens to reveal a terrible secret that could destroy each of their lives. And as they race to save themselves, they must face uncomfortable truths about themselves and each other, and as they decide how to move forward and how far they will go this time. So we'll drop those links to both of those books. Congratulations to those authors with their new releases.
Well, Killer Author Club membership has its privileges. So if you're on Facebook, check out the private members only group called the Killer Author Clubhouse. This is the place for the really hardcore killers, where the killer authors share book reps, have all sorts of murderous fun, and hold giveaways. Every episode, we choose a name from the KAC or KA Clubhouse, sorry guys, hat to win a piece of KAC swag: t-shirts, mugs, candles, totes, hats, all of which can be found at killerauthorclub.com. And tonight's winner is Laura Schaefer. Please send one of the killers your address, Laura, and we'll send you some killer author swag.
All right. Mary, you did it again. You survived the Killer Author Club. So, of course, you get a second humongous badge that we'll send to you. You can cut it out, print it out, hang it on your wall with all your other accolades. But we are so grateful that you were here with us. So thank you, and congratulations on another amazing read that just is going to hit the charts automatically. I just know it is. People are going to love it.
Fabulous. So
well,
true.
thank you. Thank you both for having me here and for all the incredible questions, and thanks to everyone that joined us tonight and all the kind comments and amazing questions. I love being here.
And that does it for tonight's episode. Thank you to everyone for tuning in, and thank you to Mary for being here and for inviting me to be part of the fun.
And Danielle, thank you for being our guest tonight. And I have to tell everybody a little bit about you before we close the show for tonight. Danielle is the USA Today and Amazon #1 best-selling author of, get this, 16 novels, 16, including the Annabelle Schwartzman series, Chasing Darkness, and the Rookie Club series. Her books have won the Barry Award, the RT Reviewer's Choice Award, and Whiteout was in the top 100 best-selling ebooks of 2020. Danielle is also the creator and host of the Killer Woman podcast. So shout out to that, where she interviews the women who write today's darkest suspense. And you can find Danielle's Killer Women's podcast page on Facebook, or listen to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and a bunch of other places. And we'll drop all those links.
Be sure to come back here on March 19th, because Killer Heather Gudenkopf will be celebrating the release of her new thriller, Everyone is Watching. It's always extra exciting when one of the killer authors has a new book, so you know you want to be here. Do not miss it. Join in at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Central. Kimberly and Kara will be back. I'm sure they'll be really eager to take over. And Heather will be giving away copies. Also, Heather is coming to Killer Women podcast, and that episode will go live. We pre-record because I'm literally sweating through all my clothes doing this live. So we pre-record in my world, and that will be out on the 28th of March. And also there will be a giveaway attached. So in the meantime, please find the killer authors wasting entirely too much time on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. And you can find me at daniellegerard.com. For all the information you need, times, upcoming schedules, past episodes, recipes, and merch, surf to killerauthorclub.com. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
I guess I'm a killer through our love into the river.